as she has already briefed about my roles and responsibility in my university, so let's begin with the topic problem solving and design thinking. So as we go ahead with these problems, so there are various problems in our life, like if we talk about when we are handling the students, when we are handling a new batch of students which are there in our college and institutions, or when we have our scholars of PG and PhD level. So any sort of problem, when we look at the problem, we generally find that the problem is a matter or situation regarded as unwelcome or harmful. So when we encounter any problem in our life related to academics or non-academics also, our human tendency is to immediately think about the solution. Right. So generally, whenever we are defining the problem, even rather than defining, you are most of the time talking about the solution of a problem. So our simple way is there is a problem and now this is a solution and let's go with that convenient solution only, which is there since ages. So the design thinking that we are starting now, so design thinking does not talk about the problem and solution at the same pace. However, here we first of all talk about what should be the best way, what should be the best process to fix this problem or to solve this problem. So these are known as problem solving skills. So the process of finding solution to difficult or complex issues. So your complex issues that we will be discussing can be anything that bothers you, anything which is bothering you, starting from the waste lying on the streets of your city or to the mental health problems that the young generation is facing with. So anything can be a problem. And why is it difficult? Because to find a good solution which can solve the problem, to find a feasible solution that can address to your problem is difficult to imply. The problem is not difficult. Difficult is to find a good appropriate solution to this. So that is your complex issue or a difficult problem to which you are looking for a solution. So but don't jump on the solution. So the design thinking and the problem solving states that we should talk about the problem solving skills, which is to relate to your ability to identify issues, to identify the obstacles and then the opportunities in that, and then develop and implement effective solution. But conveniently, if I will talk about, so the very convenient way was the problem is there, let's talk about the solution. We don't talk much about all these in between steps that are mentioned here. So the design thinking approach provides us with the opportunity to think in all these aspects before reaching to the solution. So before solving any problem, one should know what is design thinking. It's not how it looks but how it works. So the difference is in the working of it. So if we have to relate design thinking with the problem solving technique and what is design thinking. So design, we all know a plan. If you are from any engineering background, you know that you are drawing a plan, or you are having some drawing in your mind which is produced to show the look and function and working of any building, any garment or any object before it is made. There is a design. The firstly design is in your mind, then you are trying to bring it to a piece of paper or as a model, and then you are just looking at how would it work. So design thinking is a methodology which is used by designers to solve complex problems and find desirable solutions for the client. So these clients, I will be defining them. These are the users. These are my clients and these are the users. So a design mindset is not problem focused, as I mentioned, right? That your mindset is on the problem. He is facing a problem. He is under some mental depression. He is not good in academics, right? He does not sit properly in the class. He is having disciplinary issues. So our focus is only on the problem. However, when we talk about the design mindset, we have to shift our focus to the solution, because ultimately this particular problem which is complex in nature, which is difficult in nature, why is that so? Why is it that difficult? Because the solution is difficult. We are not able to find appropriate good suitable solution to this particular problem. So the design thinking is defined as a human-centered and collaborative approach to problem solving, where you are using a designed mindset to solve complex problems. Most people, they make the mistake of thinking design is what it looks like. People think that this is a veneer, right? That the designers are handed this box and told, make it look good. No, that's not actually is design thinking. It is more like a feel. It is not like how does it look. It is the feel, that how does it feel if you are proposing a particular solution, and design is how does it work. So now going into deeper of, before that, when we talk about design thinking, it is often referred as outside the box thinking, right? So that is how there are various examples which we'll be discussing during this session, where we will be detailing about this design thinking. So design thinking is generally when before design thinking, before we I jump on again on design thinking, let me just figure out some of the problems. Like as I mentioned, the problems are anything that bothers us, right? Even the problems related to the courses that we teach, anything that is bothering me for no extreme level, or bothering me for a longer period of time. It is not like today X is bothering me, tomorrow Y is bothering me, and day after Z is bothering me. Anything which is bothering you continuously over a long period of time can be your problem. So, as I stated, traffic is bothering me daily. In cities like Gurugram, where we have peak office hours, where road network or a good transportation, public transportation is a problem, then I may say that traffic is bothering me. That is a problem. But generally, traffic is one aspect of the problem. The root cause of the problem is something different. So design thinking provide us the opportunity to understand the root cause of the problem, be it be it any experiment, be it any sample, be it any situation where you are. Now the first step is to understand what is the root cause of that particular problem, so then we can shift our focus from problem towards the solution. So when we say design thinking is an approach which gives you a different perspective to look at the problem. So it is an iterative process in which we seek to understand the user. Now, when I say traffic is a problem, now who is facing that problem? So I have to understand the user, because the user or a particular population or a particular sample is facing that problem. So I must know what the user is facing, or what is my user. What is the age of my user? What is the profile of my user? So I should know that. Second is, design thinking also provides challenging assumptions. As soon as I say traffic is a problem, there can be various assumptions which will come up, right? Traffic is a problem because there is no road, no good road. Government is not doing their work. There is a potholes on the road. The condition is not good. They are not maintained properly, right? That is maybe our challenge assumptions. But when you will try to understand the user, understand the problem well, you may come up with various other reasons that you were not able to understand at the first instance. So you have to challenge the assumptions, that okay, these can be the assumption, but once I will understand my user, I may come up that traffic is a problem because people are not following traffic rules properly. There is a problem in the lanes or whatever, right? So that is the thing, that you have to challenge the assumptions which are linked with the problem. Now, resolve or redefine wicked problems. Wicked problems are those problems to which the solution seems difficult. A single solution is seeming difficult, that can be your wicked problem. So when we talk about design thinking, we try to focus or bring the focus from the problem towards the solution. So to solve any wicked problem, which I just shared, that this design thinking approach can be applicable to any subject that you are teaching in your class, because each and every subject has its own problem statement, or each and every subject, when you give certain projects to students, certain minor project to the student, some practical assignments to the student, it is not some of the students are not able to come up with good outcomes, even if you are working on some research problem with your scholars. So these design thinking approach can be applied to any subject that you are teaching, right? So generally, if any of the course is having some project work in it, or your student is working on its own BTech major project or any minor project, then you can very well relate design thinking with those projects. So a wicked problem is not a complex problem, but it is a social or a cultural problem to which a solution is difficult. Providing a solution becomes difficult to that particular problem. That is your wicked problem. So a wicked problem can, few classic examples of wicked problems are poverty, climate change, education, homelessness, and sustainability. These are few, because to address poverty, it is very, very difficult to find a single solution that can resolve the problem of poverty that our country is facing. Right? So these type of problems can be linked or can come under the wicked problems. Similarly, the elevator button. Some simple, very daily experiencing examples I have taken. So suppose there is the elevator button problem. So initially it was there because a person, the up arrow and down arrow, if generally a lift uses these buttons, it becomes difficult sometimes for the person who is using the elevator whether he should press the upside arrow or the downside arrow. However, there are changes in the lift or elevator nowadays, and instead of a button there is a picture of a man like this. So if you want to go up, press this. If you want to go down, press this. So these are small solutions that has been provided to problems based on design thinking approach. Right? So then lift is going upward, person moving up can board now. So you are going up and you are going down. Right? So these are some of the changes which can be there in the elevator button problem if the mindset was to know or to understand the problem properly, to understand the user properly. Similarly, there is one example which I would really like to discuss, which I have taken from the Harvard Business Review, the slow elevator problem. So once we will understand what design thinking is and how does it work, then it would be easy for us to use design thinking approach in the courses that we are teaching and to apply this approach with the students in the class that we are handling. Right? So you just imagine that you are the owner of any office building and your tenants are complaining about the elevator. The complaint is it's old and slow and they have to wait a lot. Several tenants are threatening to break their lease if you don't fix the problem. So when we talk about this problem, and when we generally asked, even I asked this in my class of student, and the student quickly replied some solution straight away. The moment they saw it's old and slow, the immediate solution that they proposed was replace the lift. And the moment the second was there, they have to wait a lot, or it is slow and old. Some few other answered like installed a stronger motor, or perhaps upgrade the algorithm that runs the lift because the lift is slow. Right? It can be removed, or the speed of the lift can be improvised if the algorithm would get upgraded. So these suggestions, they fall into what I call a solution space. This is a solution space, right? Then the cluster of solution, that's their assumptions about what is the problem is. In this case, the solution space, if you will see, all the solutions are targeting one thing, that is the elevator is slow. So the problem was, out of this, whatever was written there, most of us, when these type of situations are in front of us, most of us will go with like this, that yes, the problem framing is the elevator is too slow, and the solution is to make it faster, to install a new lift, or to upgrade the motor, or to improve the algorithm. Anyone from the audience, if you wish to make an attempt after reading this sentence, that if you want to frame the problem, what would be the problem from your point of view? Anyone, if you have the access to unmute your mic and answer.
I request the participants to kindly respond to ma'am. You have the permission to unmute.
Okay, so if anyone just want to, I only want this, that if we just focus on these two lines, it's old and slow, and they have to wait a lot. Looking at this sentence, one problem framing was the elevator is too slow. What could be the other problem framing if you want to frame your problem before going for the solution?
Waiting time is long.
Yes, thank you for responding.
Ma'am, it may
So
be waiting time.
yes,
Uh,
is lot of
have to
waiting time
wait
is
for
there.
a lot.
Yes.
This
The
is
yeah. The thing is, when you
shown
are
problem.
interacting with the user or interacting with the problem, you have to focus each and every keyword in the problem that you have. So the first keyword was that the elevator is too slow. However, when you will present this problem, a good problem framing is the elevator is too slow or the wait time is too. This is more important, that when the elevator is too slow, we some of us may able to reframe the problem as the wait time is annoying. That is the thing which is getting annoyed to your user, not because it is too slow, right? Too slow, then your solution finding word this, replace it. So now just imagine if your solution is install a new lift, how much time and the other resources like money which be utilized when you are talking about this particular make it fast solution, right? So the quick solution or the solution which is doable also will be achieved once you are able to reframe the problem. Like if suppose I am reframing wait is annoying, so what can we do? Solution is don't let them wait, then wait time or make them feel that their wait time is shorter. How can we do that? Some good innovative ideas are listed here. Put up mirrors in your lift, so the moment mirrors are inside the lift, the wait will not be annoying. They can just have a quick glimpses at how they are looking, whether they are tired or anything, their own reflection for a few seconds, right? Play music in your lift. So when some good soothing music, even the no the Gayatri mantra, if that is there. So what we have done in our university also as a tinkering project in one of the lab, after 2 p.m. there is a no short. I request all others to kindly mute. Thank you. There is a short play of Gayatri Mantra at some particular timing. So now people feel refreshed all of a sudden. So similarly, this wait time can you can bring it down to shorter by put up mirrors, by playing music, or install a hand sanitizer in your lift. So these could be some of the ideas which can be implemented in your lift to help people or to reduce their wait time or reduce their no annoying nature with this long wait time. So generally our traditional approach of problem solving, as I just told, that what we do, we immediately define our problem. हमें दिखाई दिया the lift is too slow, we immediately define it, the lift is too slow, and not did not get into detailed of that if the lift is slow, what is the problem which is being faced by my user. So the traditional problem solving approach or the process simply define the problem. The moment you define the problem, you just figure out few various solutions that you already know about. If this is a thread which has been got mixed, or if this is your hair, let us say, so what we do generally if I want to clear up my hair, my immediate solution is use a brush, use a good comb, broad tooth comb, or use a scissor to remove that, right? Because there is a problem or the hair is mixed up. And then what we do, we generally aim or we generally analyze that which is my best solution out of these three only. So this is my set, and out of these three, I will just try to find out what is my best solution. And out of this best solution, out of this three, I will just compare and I will choose best solution. However, in this traditional approach, I it may happen that the actual winning solution is left unnoticed. So I think my slide is visible and I'm still in the meeting. Yes. So,
Yes, ma'am.
yeah, thank you. So, sometime we may find that the actual winning solution is getting unnoticed. I'm just quoting the example again, that if my hair is mixed up, I will just solve my hair, I will just smoothen my hair with these three. But the solution which came later was you need not to even use a comb or a brush. However, there are hair smoothening solutions which are in the market. Just to name one, Live On is there, right? But this would not come up if you are going with the traditional problem solving. And that is the reason we have just redefined these stages And now this is what we generally do in our design thinking process. The general problem which is there, we will try to discover through empathy. We will be discussing this through research and through our user plays a very important role. For teachers, our users are our students. Our users are the administration of our institutions, right? These are our users. If we have been provided with some responsibility of teaching a new course or guiding my PhD scholar, then I should understand the needs of the user, and appropriately I have to deliver the content. So now, instead of jumping straight away to the solution which is there are few more stages which have been provided in the design thinking approach. So the first is, please use the tool of discover through empathy, through some research, and by understanding your user, and try to reach to a specific problem from your general problem. This is the hair mixing is a problem, is my general problem. Now, what is my specific problem? That is still unknown if I am going with traditional problem solving. So, it is required to find out a specific problem from my general problem. And once I know the specific problem, like again, I'm going back to the traffic problem. So, if I know the traffic was the general problem and people not following the traffic rules on road is the specific problem, I will think of solution from this perspective rather than this. If I still am searching for the solution from general problem point of view, then I may not be addressing the correct problem. But the moment I have a specific problem, I am going to certainly address the specific problem, that people are not following the rules. The roads are fine, maintenance is fine, everything else is fine, so my focus is only on this. Then there would be different variety of new ideas that may come up. Then I will try to find out which idea is best to work upon, and then my solution would be a specific solution rather than a combination of solutions. So this is what the major difference between a design thinking and a traditional thinking approach. So now, as I mentioned, for which discipline the design thinking is made. So design thinking can happen in any subject, and you can apply if you have some understanding after this session. Whatever you will gain, you can simply apply the design thinking approach in any of your subject with your students. So generally, there are various problems, and I would like to share the problems which are linked with sustainable development goals. So we all know that there are 17 goals which each country is committed to attain by 2030. India is also doing very well in attaining all these individual goals. And based on your own area of expertise and specialization, you can relate yourself to some of these goals based on your research area. So any problem which is related and can be linked with any of these goals, you can start applying design thinking approach on that. So, and when you are working with design thinking, it can help you to create a game changing solution. Few example, and then we will go with the stages. So the sauce bottle, we all have experienced that if initially it was only coming in this bottle, and then there was a huge challenge which was faced by any common user. The challenge was the bottle is close to empty and ketchup is stuck at the bottom. So this challenge converted challenge into an opportunity. There is opportunity in every problem. We have to see that if there is a problem, there is an opportunity to go for a solution. There is an opportunity to innovate something new, right? So with this challenge, the solution came up, which was this: easy to use with no wastage or minimal wastage. So because the challenge was thought or was taken as a challenge, then it converted into an opportunity for some innovation and a market value. Then what can design thinking do? So for various wicked problem like this, your design thinking can give a very good problem solving path for you, from where the solution can get evolved. So the wicked problem, if you will just look around your no professional life or your personal life, you can find out some of the wicked problem around you. So now we have to identify those wicked problem, and then we have to see how it can be solved through design thinking. So before we proceed with the steps of design thinking, there are goals of design thinking. And when we talk about goal, users experiences is a very important factor which is to be considered in design thinking approach. So there are three goals of design thinking. So design thinking is a human centered approach. So you have to see the desirability. This is my user. I have to understand my user. I have to understand what is their requirement. If I'm taking the class, a maths class, let us say, my student want step by step writing on the board. That is their desirability. So I have to avoid using PPT in my class, right? And likewise, you can identify what is the desirability, what your user want. Then a viability, before that, sorry, feasibility. Feasibility is the technical feasibility of anything. If I have understood the desire or the need of my user, and I am about to propose a solution, whether the solution is technically feasible. Let us say our problem is air pollution. We all know the type of AQI that we are facing nowadays, especially in the northern region of the country. So, if my desirability is to reduce the pollution, my solution may be, let us go and switch to live in on planet B. Is that feasible? No. We do not have any planet B to live on, right? You cannot shift on moon. So that is not a feasible solution. So, but the feasible solution is, if the root cause problem to the air pollution is parali, let us say, then what are the technical solution to stop or to reduce the burning of parali in the field, right? And when I have checked the technical feasibility of that, whether that is viable. Viable is something which where you talk about the cost and other resources. So viable, because generally when we talk about design thinking, we try to innovate some ideas, and we also try to convert the ideas into some business. So viability is whether I would able to sell my idea, will I earn some profit, or is it doable in terms of financial requirement. So these three are the goals of design thinking, and when we go with these three goals, we are very much close to innovation. So, the design thinking is a process which fosters creativity, innovation, and user centricity, and it help you to come up with some actionable solution which are meeting these three goals. And certainly, if you are able to provide a solution, propose a solution with these three goals, it is nothing but an innovation. So now what are design thinking? So design thinking consists of these five stages that we will try to cover up quickly in this particular session. So the five steps of design thinking, the first starts with empathize. As I talked about desirability or human centered approach, so empathy is where we talk about our users only. Only thing is how to understand the user is discussed in empathy. Once you have empathized, you are going to the defining stage. Then the third is ideate stage. Fourth is prototype. And the fifth is testing. So, this is the framework which I just talked about. These five stages are the framework. And each framework of design thinking will have various questions. Now, what are these questions? That also we will see in one and the other PPT. So, let us say my first step is empathy. Now, what is empathy? We have heard the word empathy and sympathy. So, I assume that my audience is aware of what is the difference between empathy and sympathy. We might have heard a word sympathy many a times, and sometimes you might have come across empathy, right? So sympathy is when someone is in grief, when someone is in problem, you sympathize that person that all will be well soon. That is my sympathy, and the sympathy will only come. It is just a sympathy from outside. I am not in position to understand what the particular person is feeling about, but I am sympathizing to the person. However, the empathy is respectful understanding of what others are feeling. So it means just have attention on this picture. It means putting yourself in other person's shoes. So you step the moment you step into someone else's shoes, you will strengthen the relationship with that person with whom you are trying to understand what is their requirement or what they want. So empathy can be defined as seeing with the eyes of another, listening with the ears of another, and feeling with the heart of another. So, as I mentioned, sympathy and empathy is there. Sympathy is from your brain. You are understanding the suffering of another from your brain only. You are acknowledging that, yes, another circumstances are tough to handle, and you are recognizing that. So, everywhere in sympathy, only your mind is talking about what you are thinking, what other is facing and experiencing. However, empathy, you are empathize from your inner self also. You are trying to experience and you are experiencing. Here you are only understanding, but here you are experiencing the feeling of other, and you have similar personal experience. How? Because you are trying to put yourself into another shoes. So you are trying to put yourself into another shoe, and this is how you are trying to empathize. And here, instead of recognition, you are relating with emotion. So these are the difference between empathy and sympathy. And it is very, very important to have an empathic understanding of the user if you want to implement design thinking. So suppose this is you, this is me, right? And when we will empathize, it's very good figure to show how the we will come. And when you are working on design thinking, it is we which is more, you have to give a more focus on we rather than you and me. So, and how to empathize with your user? Suppose my user is my class of students who are facing difficulty in understanding a particular subject, let us say. So that is my user. So what I will do, I have to understand, or I have to go with to the root cause of the problem, that why are they not able to understand immediately. If I am a head of any department, let us say, and I have got the complaint from the student, they are not able to understand a particular subject which is taken by faculty X. What would be generally my immediate solution to the problem? Okay, there must be some problem with faculty X. He is not going to class on time, he is not explaining the students correctly, or my solution will be only in the pace of accusing and blaming faculty X, let us say, right? Traditional approach. The design thinking approach is, if I have got some problem from my user, I have to observe my user first of all. I have to view my users. I have to view and understand their behavior in the context of their lives. Presently, I am talking about the course that they are not able to understand. Then I have to engage my users. I have observed that okay, the class is going on time, the faculty is going on the time, but the users are not able to understand, and I have paid attention to their behavior also. Second is engage. Now it is a time to engage your user. Observe means you are standing no behind or ahead of your user. You are at some far off place, and then you are observing from that domain. Now you have to interact with your user. You have to interview your user, and then some short intercepts encounters are there. So there are various tools for this also. You can interact through surveys, you can interact with an interaction or a Q&A session, you can interact with them with various other tools which are there. You can narrate a story to them, you can have a role play with them. So you have to engage your user, and then finally immerse. Then you experience what your user experiences after having a clear questions with them, and that to open ended questions. Not like, did your class happen? The answer would be yes. If instead of did your class happen on time, if you will reframe the question is how your class went, then you can expect some good type of questions, or what you did in your class today. Then you can expect some good answers. There was a numerical on the board, there was some dictation, there was some so and xyz. So, to empathize to any problem or any research problem, these are the three tools which should be used by yourself if you are addressing it from design thinking point of view. Then the empathy can be the cognitive empathy, the emotional, or the compassionate empathy. Here you are trying to understand the other's perspective and thoughts. In emotional, you are, it is an ability where you are feeling what someone else is feeling, right? So you are trying to capture their emotion, whether they are joyful, whether they are sad, or they are full of anger. Then compassionate empathy, where you will not only understand and feeling of the emotion, but you will also want to help them, because ultimately you are there to provide a solution to that problem. So compassionate empathy will allow you to do something for to solve their cognitive as well as emotional empathy. Now, what blocks empathy? So, the moment you are judgmental, the moment you are comparing, or you there is a lack of responsibility or demand or expectation, these are few items which will block your empathy. You will not be able to empathize with your user if you are judgmental. If say yes, there is something else which is in your mind. If he says yes, it is difficult to understand, you are taking it other way around, and you are making comparisons. So you cannot empathize in that way. So, but only with empathy it is possible to truly understand each other. So now you have to get trained in the art of communicating authentically, clearly, kindly, precisely, and empathetically. But first of all, we need to learn to distinguish judgment from observation. As I just mentioned, you have to observe your user. But there is a very thin line which will differentiate or distinguish between judgment and observation. So you have to observe your user without being judgmental on it, right? So only observation is required for your empathy. So the ability to observe is a great form of intelligence. So because you are still on observe rather than on judgmenting or being judgmental anything. So if I think you are a fool, how can I put myself in your shoes, right? Because I was judgmental there. I already know that whatever you are saying is of not of a good attention or outcome. So I will never put myself on your shoes, and I will never understand what was your requirement. If I think you are unreachable, again, I will not put up myself in your shoes. I will not understand what you required. So judgment must be suspended. Any sort of judgment, be it negative one, by assuming that yes, the front person or the user is idiot, or the positive ones, if I say that he is very super cool. No. So you have to avoid such type of judgment, and you simply have to observe your user. So work on listening to yourself first of all, and then listening to others. Then we would be able to empathize with our user. So there are various tools which we may not able to cover all, but just for the glimpses of all others, there are various tools and techniques which are available through which you can empathize your user. First is beginner's mindset. You are no, bringing yourself out from the judgmental behavior, and you are thinking that you are beginner in that particular field if you are working on any particular problem. Ask what, how, why. Always ask questions. This will help you to understand your user in a very good way. Body storms, ask the five whys. Five whys are there which you should ask. Conduct interviews, story share capture, empathy map. All these are various tools which are available when we want to empathize our user for any of the problem. This is one example of empathy map. So in our traditional problem, you were defining the problem. However, in the design thinking approach, we are defining our user. If this is my user, what my user says about the problem. Why, when I interacted with him, what does he thinks about the problem? What is bothering him most? Whether it is the traffic or the roads or the human behavior towards the traffic rule. So if I will question him, if I will ask him many a times, I would be able to fill all these cells. How does my user feels with that problem? If the waste is the problem, how is their feeling? Is he willing to contribute to manage the waste? So I want to find out everything about what my user is saying, what my user is thinking of the problem, and how does that problem feels to my user, and what he does to solve that problem. See, if I am at the other end to provide a solution to any of the problem of my user, I have to provide him a solution which he has not tried. If he has already tried that solution and the problem is still there, which means that that solution is not working for him. So it is very important to understand what he is actually doing to resolve that problem. So this is glimpses of your empathy map. Then in empathy map, we generally design a persona like this, and there we define who is my user, what are the goals, how do they behave, what do they think, and all that. Step two is define. Once I know my user, I empathize, right? I empathize, I did everything to understand the need of my user, and then I am going towards the define stage. So in define, what I am doing is whatever observations I made, I will try to analyze my observations on my user and then try to synthesize them in a particular order to define the core problem. So, as a process of design thinking, it is important to define what to define a meaningful and actionable problem statement. See, the moment you will define your problem specifically, you will be more close to the solution. So, the moment I say that people not following the traffic rule is a problem, it is doable, it is actionable. I have to just think of the solution. How can I make people fall in line and follow all the traffic rules? So you have to analyze what you have to analyze about the problems which are there, which you have found out from your user. You have to break down into simpler steps. You also have to synthesize. You have to creatively place the complexity together in the form of whole idea. Whatever your user has said, you have to now bring it to that stage. So define stages: analysis to synthesis. You are trying to synthesizing the insights. What are those insights which you observed during the empathy stage. Once you have defined, there is a point of view. When you are working on a team, many of us, when we are working in a team, we may have a common problem statement or a point of view or different also. So when we are working in team, it is very very important that all of us are working on point of view, and then with this point of view we would able to express the problem in a very good customer focused way. So your point of view while you are framing a question should be customer focused. Customer is my user, it can be anyone. It should not be business focused, though we will be testing the business angle of that when we talk about the feasibility of it. However, initially your problem statement should be consumer centric. It should hit the sweet spot between being too specific or too narrow to allow for creative flexibility, or too vague to actually solve of it. So your POV is a meaningful and actionable problem statement which will you allow to ideate in a goal oriented manner. So how a POV is being composed, or how can you frame that? By answering these simple questions: who is your user, what is their deep unmet need, and why is this insightful? So this is how you can define your POV. So that is important to define, and now you would be able to define your POV. Now your POV should not be very vague, which is not able to achieve. Your problem statement should not be very vague if you are not able to achieve that. It should not also be very narrow, which becomes difficult to achieve it, right? So if you can properly define the problem, then you have already defined the solution, as I mentioned. If my problem is still traffic, I am not close to the solution. The moment my problem is people are not following traffic rules, I am close to my solution. I have to bring my people in the line to follow the rules. Step 3 of design thinking process is ideate. Now, what is the idea? I have defined my problem. The problem was students were not able to understand the course properly. Now, there will be a number of ideas which will come up to solve that problem, how to make understanding happening in a class in a very good way, right? So few ideas can be, if the problem remains same, let us say how to make the teaching effectively, or how to make the effective teaching in the class so that the students can learn it. Then the idea may come up: make it interactive, write clearly on the board, give some time to the student to write down the step by step to that particular numerical problem, ask questions in between. These could be some of the ideas to solve the problem. So when you are exploring the solution, you can have a pool of ideas, and through these ideas only, few of good ideas like this will go to the next stage. So ideation is going wide. When you are talking about the ideas in design thinking, we also appreciate the weird ideas, out of the box ideas, because the conventional idea like make the class interactive, it is a very common idea, we generally do that in the class. Some weird idea is make some peer groups, ask the teacher to sit down as a student and ask some students to take the class. So these type of weird ideas sometimes can become winning ideas also. So we should always encourage to your team member, when you are working in a team, you always should encourage your team to suggest those weird ideas as well. So when you have to generate ideas, there are again various tools which would be difficult to cover in this session. However, I will give you a few glimpses of all those tools which are available to ideate when you are generating the ideas. And these ideas are for providing the solution, how the specific problem that you have just defined in the previous stage can be solved. So few ways are: differ judgment. Now, not a single idea is bad, right? You should accept all the ideas which are coming, because at this point of time no idea is bad, all can be winner. The only thing is how you are looking at those ideas. So there are plenty of time later, in the later stage you will be judging it. At the moment, whatever idea is coming to solve the problem, please accept those ideas. Second is encourage wild ideas, as I told. So sometimes it's the wild idea that often provide the breakthroughs, because it is different from the traditional approach. It is always easy to bring ideas down to earth later. So right now, don't start saying that, oh no, this idea is not feasible. When you are working on the prototype, there would be other stages when you will see how to bring that wild idea into workable thing, right? So you can bring that down to the earth in the later stages. Right now, please encourage all those ideas which are coming up for your problem. Build on the ideas of other. You think, how can you put up some things together, like, okay, this idea is good and it is different also, rather than saying this idea is good but very different, which means that you are going to the negative side, that no, this idea is not appreciable at all. So you have to think of putting and rather than using but, because you need all those ideas, and not a single weird idea should miss out at this stage when you are proposing solution to your problem. Stay focused on the topic, so you will get better output if everyone is disciplined, because this is very very important, focusing. If my specific problem is distraction of a student, or the problems of understanding a subject in the class, I have to focus in the class. I cannot start saying ki, okay, there is a group of students who is notorious. No, that is not linked. So you have to stay focused on a particular topic, that yes, if the problem is students are not able to understand, you have to stick on that. Then only you will get the relevant ideas to solve that. Then be visual. So we generally do one activity with the students in class when we talk about visual impact, that we all know that there are two sides of our brain, left brain and right side brain. Sometimes your left brain, the way you act to a particular problem, the way you behave, it shows that whether the creative side of you is coming up, which is the left side of the brain, or you are very organized and you do the step by step thinking, which is the right side of the brain. But in design thinking, you have to make your the idea which is creative side of the brain to be very very active in design thinking. So you have to be visual also sometimes in generating ideas, and you have to engage your left and right side, both side of brain, when you are working on design thinking. One conversation at a time. Why? Because all ideas can be heard upon and built upon only one by one. If you will start pouring all the ideas all together, it will be very difficult to understand or to hear to what ideas are. So we have to give time to all the ideas and one after the other, so that all ideas are in the pool of your suggestions. Communicate the essence without a long speech. So headline, if you are getting the ideas and if the idea is so long that you are no investing most of the time in explaining one idea only, you are losing on that. So you have to make your idea very very concise when you're talking about. One very important thing is going with the quantity rather than quality. So I need all sort of balls in the jar when I am talking about the ideas. Why? Because if from at this stage we are at ideate stage, we want to collect all the weird ideas, all the normal ideas to solve the problem. But if I will focus on quality, not all ideas will come. So my focus at the ideation stage should be at the quantity. If I'm having some problem in my class, I want all the students to come up with at least 5 good ideas to solve that problem. So my focus at this stage is on the quantity. If I have something in volume, so my thing is on the volume. So once I have volume and variety, then the quality can be achieved in the later stages. So innovation options will only options will be available when we talk about the quantity at this stage rather than focusing on the quality. So there is one good YouTube video on your teacup is full. However, as we have less time, I may not able to show this, but the moral I will share here, that when we talk about the ideation stage, right, or the learning, so how the learning will happen? First of all, you have to unlearn. As I said, the beginner's mindset is very very important. This is a conventional way how we solve the jigsaw puzzle, right? Very conventional approach. All parts have been given to me. I have to connect all of them together with a connection with one another. Then what we have to do? We have to have a beginner's mindset. I will try to unlearn from these things, and then I would try to relearn, which is a new way of learning. So this is what is required. The relearning is very very important nowadays, and it will only happen once we have a beginner's mindset. So then there are thinking heads when we talk about the ideation. Now your ideas, that the way your ideas are coming when you have put yourself into another shoes and your ideas is coming, session is going on, some ideas are coming, then there are different ways through which these ideas will come. Either it is coming, or you are wearing a white hat or a yellow hat or a black hat, red hat, green hat, blue hat. White hat is the logical approach. What are the facts? What info do we have? Yellow hat is for optimism. What's good right now? Black hats is also known as devil's advocate because you are talking about the risk involved over here. Red hat is for emotion. What does your gut feeling? Everything then we propose a solution when we are doing research also. There is some feeling, no? The emotion is there. So that is your red hat. Green hat is about creativity. Are there other users or some other alternatives are there? Blue hat is about management. What are the rules of the exercise being followed? So these are six thinking hats which are there, and you will combine all these six hats to having one big fancy hat, which is known as the royal hat. So you have to be owner of this royal hat. And when you have understood your user and when you are proposing your ideas will have different emotions. Each idea may have different emotions or a combination of emotions like this. And your royal hat will be the committed and invested one, which is subjectively seeking objectivity. So that is the thing. So the conclusion says ideation will help you when it is about asking the right questions and innovate with a strong focus on your user. So a questioning, even the question, asking a question is very, very important. The way you are asking a question, be it in exam, when you are framing the question paper, we always pay attention while we are framing the question paper, because we have to see that the way I am asking the question to the student, what should the student is writing in return, that we have to think about, right? So a right question is very, very important, because the answer of the user depends on the type of question that I am asking. If I'm not asking the appropriate question, I may not get the appropriate answer. And that's the reason framing of the question is very, very important. Step beyond the obvious solution and therefore increase the innovation potential of your solution. So when we talk about ideas, we're talking about not the obvious ideas that we get, we're talking about the innovative idea. Bring together perspectives and strength of your team member. So whenever we talk about the design thinking approach, it seldomly happens that this approach is being followed by a single person. We generally work in a team, and if my users are my student are generally working in team, be it major project or any other hackathon or competition for which they are working. So you have to ask them to work together in their perspectives and strengths. Also, uncover unexpected areas of innovation, create volume, as I mentioned, volume and variety. Don't restrict yourself that, okay, I only want one best idea. I only have a one best idea. So you cannot limit yourself there. Get obvious solutions out of your heads initially. And you have to drive your team beyond them, because all the obvious solutions are in plenty. If the same solution you will give it to your user will not able to solve the problem which he was facing. That is the reason you have to keep the obvious solutions aside. Now, in ideation, there is one way of going with ideation. Then, one such tool which is very, very useful and interactive while working on the ideas is mind mapping. So, mind mapping is a visual ideation technique. It encourages us to draw connections between different set of ideas and information. So, when we talk about ideas, this is a way of mind mapping. Suppose there is some idea of mine, right? So my ideas may be having certain benefits. What are them? So it is just drawing all the big branches and the linked small branches out of it. So this is one very effective tool which generally we suggest our student to use, which is a mind mapping technique, and this can be used in any of the subjects anywhere. This is also one purpose of mind mapping. So when we are doing mind mapping and with one idea, I am trying to draw the branch, that if my idea is getting a very interactive platform for my class, because I want to make my class interactive. Now, what are the ways? The ways is having a very good smart board in my class, which can make my class interactive, or giving a 5 minutes pause in the class and only asking questions, or giving a yoga break to my students, or having some exercise in my class. That could be one of the solutions. So with one such solutions, what are the various alternatives available can be bring together in mind map. So your mind map would be very, very helpful in making it memorable, where you can talk about the memorable means the images, the structure, or the colors that you are giving. Your mind map can also detail the creativity, Your mind map can bring a good learning, it can be visual, it would be engaging your audience. So there are the various purposes of mind mapping, and there are various online tools also. Montessori is one such tool through which you can draw a mind map, or the mind map can be drawn on the sheet also. So anytime you are in your class for any particular chosen topic, you can ask your student to make a mind map to that particular problem. So your class will become interactive in that way. Step 4 is prototyping. So far, up to ideation stage, what we have done is we have tried to find out the different volume and variety of wild and no, not so obvious ideas from the audiences or ideas from my teams. Now, prototyping is a stage where when your team was already put up their heads together to think, to churn out ideas that will ultimately create the end product or the solution. The aim of ideation session was to create a large number of ideas, right? Number, volume was requirement, variety was a requirement. Now, in prototyping, your team will now filter and cut down to the best, most innovative and practical solution. And while you are cutting down and filtering down your ideas into one such best idea, you have to recall those three goals of design thinking. First was desirability, whether which ideas out of this pool of ideas were desirable, were the need of my user. Second was feasibility, how many ideas are technically feasible to achieve. And the lastly, viability, how many of those ideas are viable. If we are launching them into the market, how many of them are viable. So just have that tick and cross approach and find out how many ideas are having tick on all these three pillars. And once these three goals are achieved, you can then sit with your team. You can again have a brainstorming session, or any of these techniques can be used to identify or select the best idea out of those filtered, screened idea. So the first filtering is based on the three goals of design thinking. The second filtering can be done by this. It can be done by post-test voting. Have the voting, because all the ideas, if you have identified five such ideas which are desirable, which are feasible, which are viable as well, then it is very difficult to choose one. So go for voting of it. Or the second method is the four categorize method. So you can categorize which is the most rational idea, which is the most delightful idea, any of your darling or most loved ideas if you have, or a long shot idea. It will run sustain for long. With these criteria also, you can try to find out or to find the best one out of those chosen set. Bingo selection, whether it is a digital prototype and that was the requirement, so go with this. Whether it is a physical prototype, go with this, or experience prototype. So the moral is, out of that prototyping, I will just come back to this. When you are selecting the best idea, your aim is to create a prototype of that. See, you cannot say your user that, okay, you were not able to understand the subject properly in the class. My idea is so and so. The user want execution of it. The user wants to feel that solution. So that is the reason prototyping is required for the best idea that you have identified. You have to prototype it, you have to bring it to that scale so that your user can take the experience of that particular solution. Your user can take solution, or user can feel or experience the solution that you are proposing, right? So that is the reason your prototyping is required. So prototyping is a very important stage, and when your students actually work on the research problem or any such problem, prototyping is a stage which provides confidence to your user that yes, now I can experience that whether it is helpful to resolve my problem or not. So in prototyping stage and the ideation stage, we have to take care that if we always do what we always did, we will always get what we always got. That is the reason out of the box thinking, weird ideas are important. Otherwise, repetitively, we are doing what we always are doing. So certainly the outcome will be the same that we are always getting. But now it is the time that when we talk about the design thinking or when we talk about innovation, it is a time to think something different. And when you will do something different, certainly the result will also be something innovation. So prototyping, if you will see this is a prototype, right? This was a figure which was drawn, and then some sort of 2D model has been prepared. So if a picture is a worth 1,000 word, then a prototype is worth 1,000 meetings. So prototypes provides a very clear cut visual, understanding to your user that how you are going to solve his problem. So your prototype can be any type of prototype. It can be a very simple 2D model which can show the functioning of how your model is working, how would it work, what are its features, what is the input requirement, and so on. So the point is to explore ideas, not to build an entire system or a product. No, nobody is asking in prototyping stage to know work everything. If you are proposing a very good phone or handset, let us say, nobody is expecting that at prototyping stage you will bring a handset. No, just a prototype that what are the features which are different from the present handset. Or if you are working on any app or a website, what are the special features in your website which makes that different from all other traditional websites. After prototyping, the last stage is the testing phase. So in testing, what we do, we try to put our prototype in front of real users and see how does it work. So initially, now you are giving the wings to your idea to fly and have the experience of what is the experience and the feeling of your user. So the testing phase gives you the feedback, right? So you have to decide what is your user. See, sometime you are solving a problem of one person, however that problem is a representation from a group of users. So every time you are encountering any problem, it is from a group of users, and your task is to provide a solution to the whole group rather than aiming a single person. So the testing phase, you are getting the feedbacks, you are getting some more insights where you need to iterate on your prototype and make improvements, because prototype was the first maker idea of yours, right? Now once it is in the testing phase, once you are getting the feedback, you are giving that prototype to your user, please be ready that you will be getting many suggestions, some harsh, some criticism on your prototype, which will certainly go for improvement. So you cannot expect that the prototype will be appreciated all the time. However, you have to be ready to get some critical reviews on your prototype, which will, if you will take it in the positive way, it will definitely going to help to bring the correct solution out of it. So testing means you can ask for the feedback for your prototypes, you can learn about your user. Sometime having the feedback, you may require to reframe your point of view and refine your prototype. So this design thinking is a no a continuous loop, you can say. It is not a linear process, it is a non-linear process where many a times you have to go back to your first stage. What was my first stage? Empathize. You need to go back to your user again and again, so that you can provide a very good solution or a correct appropriate solution to your user. So testing, because you are testing the user, it will save time and money. Because if you are not giving it to your user but directly launching your idea into the market, you are not sure that whether that will work. So you are saving the time, you are saving the money by giving it to test, to get it tested by the user. User testing also reveals some unexpected insights which you might not have searched. So you will go back again, you will understand this insight, and you will improvise on your a prototype. User testing, it also improves user satisfaction. So design thinking is all about putting the user first, and a user centered approach we are talking about. So here you have to again go back and understand your user. So as I mentioned, design thinking, which is a five stage process: empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. We have just covered a very brief of it, not at length at all, but it is a non-linear process. When you are defining, you may require to come back to empathize again. After defining, when you are going to ideate and prototyping and testing, in testing phase, you may require, because when your users are testing it, you may need to redefine your problem again. You may need to create some more ideas here. Or from testing, you may again come back to empathize, where you have to learn about the user again. Something was missed. So we cannot say it is a linear process, it's a non-linear process, and you may have to come back again to understand what was missed. So why to follow design thinking? As a teachers, why should we follow design thinking, and what will we get from design thinking. So when design thinking is there in your class, certainly it will be more fun when you are teaching your course. Some improved collaborations, because we talk about the student teacher bonding, this may happen if any of one topic you choose that, no, okay, I will teach this in a design thinking way now. Solutions that will fit to the reality. When you are working on research problem with your PGA and PhD scholars, certainly you can think about that. More creative, more confidence we may even experience in our teaching learning process when we are using design thinking approaches. These some effective ways to engage customers. If your students are working on some real time BTech project, then you would be able to engage your students, and students can work on to engage the actual consumer for which they are working on the project. So when we have understood the framework of design thinking, a design action plan, which is a series of action phases which will execute the design thinking process, it is a mindset. See, more than a framework, it is a mindset. How are we changing our mindset? So a mindset, which is a set of thinking traits and behavior that runs the design thinking process consistently and effectively. So it is the action plan and the mindsets which are required to run together. So you have to change your mindset. Don't jump on the problem straight away. Try to understand the user. There is a saying from Albert Einstein that if I have to solve one problem, he said that I will spend 55 minutes to understand the problem if I have only 1 hour, and only 5 minutes to provide a solution. So from his quote, we all can assume that understanding and understand and fully, we go with his words, that understanding a problem is very, very important. If you have understood the problem, it will not take you long way to provide a solution to that. So a mindset and attitudes, so empathy, courage, beginner's mindset, very, very important. Don't be judgmental. Emotional resilience, open-mindedness, allow all the ideas to pour in. New ways of thinking, you will synthesize your ideas, whatever observations you have. You will try to have some visual thinking so that you can know oversee what will be the result. And the various skills, methods and tools, co-creation, collaboration, hands-on experience, this all will come, and all these are the tools for your mindset and attitude. And according to Institute of Design at Stanford, the process modes and methods provide a tangible toolkit which support the 7 mindsets that are vital attitudes for a design thinking thinkers to hold. So these are the mindset. Don't tell, show them, communicate them. They will experience the difference. Focus on human values. This is the empathy, right? What is the need? What is the actual need of this? Craft clarity. So you produce a coherent vision out of the messy problem, because people are not able to understand what is the problem because it is very messy and complex. We have to simplify the problem, make it very, very specific problem. Be mindful of the processes, what is doable, what you are able to design technically. Embrace experimentation. Prototype, right? It is not simply a way to validate your ideas, but integral part of your innovation process also. Similarly, bias towards action. So design thinking is a misnomer. It is more about doing than thinking. Don't think that this may be wrong, this is right. You do and then find out whether it is right or wrong. And then radical collaboration. So certainly you will bring together all the innovators with varied backgrounds and viewpoints to work on a single problem. So some examples, quickly I will take that. So some examples are like, suppose your student has to design a game. So first of all, you will ask him to empathize. He has to play the game himself. He has to observe the user, go out and then keep himself in the player's shoes. Then he will try to define the problem. That what do they like? What do they don't like? What makes them caught too much of that game? Was it rewards or the scores which were attractive for them? Then they will be able to ideate. They will come up with something which might fit into this problem, how to make it more reward winning. Then prototype, which will be the first version of your game, and then test, where you are iterating the game to fit into the users. So design thinking, various success stories and case studies are there. If you will talk about Uber, how Uber came into picture. And before that, everybody was happy with their own car. I like my own car. I like driving so and so. Now Uber has taken over that market. The process was design thinking. Uber touched the user's requirement, right? And the very requirement of, and the non-drivers, many non-drivers are there, and many others are there who does not like to drive. So Uber provided no one type of one stop solution to such type of customer. It was only the design thinking approach that Uber tried to understand what exactly is the requirement of the users. Airbnb, how many of you might have heard about Airbnb, right? So in Airbnb, nobody has thought of that, no, two roommates who were not able to even make up for their rent would come up with such a good no startup, which is Airbnb. These are those inventors, Joe, Paul, who are the co-founders of Airbnb. So you can just Google and learn about these success stories. Your favorite food, now it is getting delivered with Uber. So such type of food delivery apps and the courier delivery apps have come up during the COVID pandemic time, right? When it was difficult to transfer or no to courier anything to any of your family mates, then there are various apps which has come up. How they have come up? Because of the user needs. The user was there, the requirement was there, the solution was only a little awaited. So there is a fine line between innovation and design. So innovate and design, and there are more design thinking success stories. But when you are talking about a thinker, what we expect is in every teacher there should be a no shift in the way we are thinking. We have to design our thinking. Whatever we are thinking, you have to design that thinking. Make your thinking creative. Make your thinking a designed approach, so that you are, when you are working on a solution, when you are designing a solution, the solution is a human centered design solution rather than a profit based solution. So we have to believe, first of all, that all problems are solvable, and people who face those problems every day hold the key to their answer. So you need not to innovate anything. The solution lies with the user itself. Only thing is, you have to bring it out from the user. The way you are asking the questions to the user, the way you are interacting with the user, the way you are empathizing with your user, you will get the solution from the user itself, that yes, I want this only, right? But the user does not know at the beginning. It is you who will try to make the user understand what they actually require, and then the solution is easy. So traditional approach, design thinking approach, already we have discussed. One more example, at that time when the tablets were there, doctor used to write like this, or from the medicine shop also they will know, write like this, that take one medicine in the morning or evening or Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Now this is one good idea which has come up, right? So this is the difference between your traditional and the design thinking approach. It has a wide application. Your design thinking approach can be applied anywhere, and education sector plays a very big important role where we can apply design thinking approach. So design is, as I mentioned earlier also, what it looks like or feels like, but design is how it works. So let us make it easy, but do not take it easy. So because design thinking is a 5-step process, but yes, we all can make it easy. So with this, I think the time is almost up. So I am just ending my presentation here. And if because it was a very short time, and we cannot discuss everything of design thinking, but I understand and I hope that at least basics have been discussed there. So coming back to the meeting, so if there is any doubt, I am ready to interact for any doubts.